Alright, welcome back to the channel and another video on the Escort mx5. So today I'm going to be levelling it off to see how far out we are. What I've done is I've got a laser level here that automatically adjusts itself. I'll show you the level that we've got here. So that's running across the same point all the way, and I've used the jacks to level up off the chassis rails of the mx5. I've also got some scissor jacks underneath the subframe, and I've done the same thing. I've used a square in the chassis rail on both sides. See where I put the marker on there to level off the chassis rail. Obviously I've then moved the laser level up, but to give you an idea, if I move out the way, that's where it sits on the screwdriver into the chassis rail, and then we move it to the other side, it's in exactly the same position. So the back's level. Now that's not going to last long, because when I level off the front, I imagine it's going to knock out the levels a little bit. So what I'll do is I'll get it set up on the front, and then we'll see how it goes. It's going to take a little bit of toing and froing to figure this out, but I just want to make sure that the levels I'm thinking are going to work. Alright, so I've got the car leveled off now, so I've got a scissor lift or scissor jack underneath the body of the Escort, and I've got one sat underneath the subframe mount of the mx5 on both sides. I've got the front wing loosely placed on with a relatively nice gap. The wing's a little bit far forward, as you can see. I've mounted the rear bumper to give me a good idea as to how the back wheel's going to sit. I'm pleased with how that's going. I was considering putting the body back a little bit more, and I may well just pull it back another 10mm, and then that way we lose another 10mm onto the dash. So that's potentially what I'm going to do. So I'll bring the body, only 10mm, but 10mm is better than nothing. Also, if I do that, the only problem is it opens up this gap a little bit, but that's not a problem. So rather than a sort of 8mm gap there, I'll have to put an 18mm gap in, an 18mm filler piece in, but I need to adjust it down here anyway. So what I'm going to do, I'm actually going to butt weld from there and spot weld it to the seam, and in fact I'll probably seam weld it actually, and then on the inside I can seam weld it again for extra strength, and then I'll make a full plate that'll go down there and round and mount into these old mounting points. And then at the back, when I'm trying to square off the body, every time I try and do the front and then the back, it's not working. So what I'm going to have to do, start one corner, get the other corner squared up off that, and then jig the back so I've got it all nice and square. It's just very, very difficult to try and do all four corners at the same time, because there is still a bit of flex in the body. So we'll do it a corner at a time, square it all up, and drop some plumb lines down, I think, just to make sure before I fully weld it. So if I weld it at the fronts there and there, get it squared up that way, which it just about is, but I can still adjust the back a little bit. Typically, I knocked the phone off the tripod while I was doing it, and then I've just ended up cracking on. But I've got the first panel in. I've just got loads of weld on it because this is going to be holding it for now. So it's spot welded, stitch welded all the way around. I've only gone up to that point because I've got a wiring loom there, so I've put a fold on the piece of metal, so that's going to come across, round, and meet up underneath there and go round somehow. I've got a little bit more space, so I can show you on this side what I mean. So I've done the same here. So seam weld it around there. I thought I could get a spot weld in there, but I couldn't. I need to turn the welder down and fill that in. Seam welded up there, spot welded and stitch welded. I've just done it super thick because this is getting boxed in anyway, so you're not going to see any of it. And again, I've done the same on there, so it's spot welded and then stitched, and it's absolutely bang on solid. So what I need to do is make like a little box up here. So that needs to go, because I want to keep it in 2 levels. So there, onto the back of this drip rail here, round and pick up there. And I'd like to try and pick up the hinge points if I can, but I might just have to do that when the new scuttle panel goes in. The other thing I was contemplating is how I'm going to pick up that piece there and weld it on here, or it may even get welded onto the back piece. I might actually leave that open and just duct that vent out to the front somewhere. I've been watching Fab do his mx5 to, I think it's the 100E he does, and he put a piece forward and then went off that. So I might do something similar but backwards. But the scuttle panel's coming out, so I'll wait until that comes out to do that section, because I want to go back to 2 wipers. So now the weight is just on the jack on the subframe on the front, and I've removed the ones from the chassis because that's now our connection. Before I box this section in, which is going to make it rigid and I'm not going to be out of any sway, I now need to set up some sort of plumb line from maybe the back hinge there, centre of the back hinges or something like that, down to the chassis legs, because as you can see, I can still adjust the back. So I need to make sure that's right. The level's okay, but I just need to square it. The car will go down the road straight, but the body wouldn't be straight with the car. So I just need to set some plumb lines up. I've got a few different places I can pick up off. I may not even plumb line it. I've got the vertical LED light. Right, so it's 8:10 now on Friday night. I've got it pretty much leveled up, so I'll show you on the inside. So I've got a nice level running across with the LED. The body is level to the frame's all level, but it's 5mm out, so it looks further. So if you look at that there, that gap's quite big and that gap is smaller. So what I'm doing now, I'm just setting up a ratchet strap around the chassis to over there, and I'll pull it over. In the centre of the car it's sort of 5 to 10mm out, and then at the back obviously that's exaggerated a little bit, so it only wants a little tweak. Alright, so the strap's in. I'm going to call it a night now. I'm level and I'm square. I did it on a bit inside, which I'll show you in a second, but if I go from just underneath there, level with the chassis leg there, see where that 23.6, and then on the other side, same place, we're around about the same, about maybe a mil in it. So tomorrow morning we'll double check that. On the inside where I did it from there's a hole just inside the frame, and I did it to the main chassis rail there, which is pretty much 50. And then on the other side, you can see where I've done it from a little bit better there. And we're 50 again. When I pinch it in with my finger, it's exactly the same. And then obviously I squared off the front, as you saw. So that bit's done now. This is ready to box in completely, but I need to just throw something across the back, even if it's just temporary, just to hold it square. And this side is the same. So tomorrow what I'll probably do is just put a piece of box section to somewhere on the inside across, and same on this side. So that's a quicker video than normally, I think, but it's just an evening after work on it, just doing a couple of little bits and pieces. I'm spending, I think, all day Saturday doing it, so we'll get some more done tomorrow.